Hello, everyone. I just wanted to share my thoughts on CEO Susan Wojcicki stepping down at YouTube. I know if you're new to this channel, I like to talk a little bit about business every now and again, and I do pay attention to the business world quite a bit. I grew up with business. My parents ran their own small business. Now, I know the news is saying that she's stepping down because she wants to do quote unquote other projects, but if I'm being personally honest, I'd say, really, as far as I'm concerned, by the way, if you're hearing noise, that's my lunch being cooked. I'm kind of doing this on lunch break real quick. Matter of fact, I think it's done. Let me hold up. All right, now then we can chat without the interruption of the beep. Personally, I would say that the real reason Susan kind of stepped down was, in my opinion, that YouTube, or more specifically Google, had finally decided they had enough of her crap and basically gave her two options. Either one, step down quietly without any noise or any ruckus, or B, they were going to can her. And the reason why I say this is a couple of things. One, Susan was trying to run YouTube like it was an ad agency. And what I'm talking about is that she was willing to back up advertisers the whole way through, constantly attacking content creators. And again, now I'm going to say some stuff here that you can take as a rumor. Okay? So I don't have paperwork to prove this, but this is information that I know from people that I trust. And that is that behind the scenes, YouTube was not only targeting independent content creators, but they were specifically targeting independent content creators with ties to companies like Microsoft and Sony, especially Let's Players. And the reason I say this is because I actually personally know somebody that had their channel shut down 8 times for copyright, which was weird considering that this person had direct letters from Microsoft and Sony and the companies that they were doing their games of, showing expressed permission to use the content of their games in their Let's Plays. YouTube had copies of these, and they were not the only ones either. It would appear that according to the people that he was talking to at Microsoft and Sony, and I won't give names specifically for their protection, but let's just say that according to these individuals at these companies, my friend was not the only person. In fact, it seemed that every content creator who had these letters were being targeted by YouTube. And it wasn't just Microsoft or Sony. Content creators with backing from Nintendo, which is notoriously hard to get, by the way, were also being targeted. One such instance was so bad, it just so happened to be that the person they had targeted for this kind of activity just so happened to be the grandson of the current CEO of Nintendo. Yeah. You can guess that those companies are not very happy with YouTube right now, or had not been happy with them under Susan. With good reason, because these content creators were essentially seen as their partners, who were giving them advertisement with their blessing. And Susan and her cohort directly attacked them. Now, this is also going with the fact that a lot of people are trying to say, well, she censored people for political points. Except, I actually know people that watch both sides of the aisle, by the way, who watch both sides of the YouTube political discussion. And you'll find actually that if you watch both sides, that they're all having the same problem. That all of these content creators are having the exact same problem. All of them are being shadow banned. All of them are having their ad revenue curtailed or hindered, with the exception of corporate channels, especially channels associated specifically with CNN, MSNBC, ABC, the alphabet soup companies, basically. Now, once you associate and you understand that Susan Wojcicki was trying to run YouTube like it was an ad agency, and therefore she was supporting what she presumed to be advertisers. This was all the while at the same time essentially attacking people backed by advertisers, which was not smart, while running a website that doesn't work half the time, has numerous issues with copyright and problems with, in some cases, like the case of Queen Melody, an ASMR VTuber, who literally had her entire content channel stolen and then struck down by the thief because YouTube refused to actually take a look and see what the hell was going on. Even though they had absolute evidence that, yes, the person making the claims was a thief, that this had been reported to them, and they did not do a damn thing. They did not do due diligence at all. And then to top that, the same CEO was deciding to essentially get into wanking contests with Elon Musk and Mr. Beast on Twitter. The same CEO that, since her beginning of tenure, since Google bought YouTube, the platform, as far as I was aware, and as far as I've ever heard or known, has never made profit, has either broken even, or has performed underperformed, I should say, is throwing fits and basically challenging other CEOs of social media like a dum-dum. So it's no wonder then, once you take that into concept, that this is a person who no doubt probably told her investors and her board and her superiors that, oh, well, YouTube can never be profitable because that's just what was accepted at the time for social media platforms. And then here comes Mr. Musk, who then backs and supports the people on his platform, despite advertisers throwing fits, and gives them essentially what the networks had to tell the, I forget what, the Catholic Society or whatever it was. Basically, it was a bunch of nosy busybodies back in the 60s that wanted to have Batman removed because apparently the costumes were a little revealed down under. Although they weren't really revealing, it was just the guys were a little more well-endowed than Ken Doll down there. To eventually the networks having to tell them, no, this is our best show. We're not going to take it off prime time. You guys are going to have to go get bent. And that's something that Elon essentially had to tell the advertisers. And lo and behold, he won. So it's very likely that that's the honest truth of what happened was. Susan made a gamble. She made a bet. She gambled on backing advertisers. Many of those advertisers now, such as CNN, are now facing severe financial problems. So obviously, no, her powerful friends are no longer powerful enough or no longer have the finances to try and back her up or assist her. So she's done. And as far as this new CEO is concerned, my thoughts initially are, let's wait and see what he does before we start calling him evil, before we start saying he's the new darkness or whatever. And my suggestion to this CEO is this: pay attention to what happened to your predecessor. Don't do what she did. Susan was obstinate and stupid in the way she acted. She might be a well-educated person, but her actions were dumb. Instead of seeing content creators getting sponsors as an immune response to the unreliability of advertiser income, instead of seeing and realizing that if it was unreliable for the people that use YouTube as a means of an income, and realizing that if it's not stable for them, then it's not stable for YouTube, to find other sources of income, as they did, and to work with them, and to back the content creators, which is what she should have done from the get-go, and providing services such as a sponsorship program where partners will have sponsors essentially hunted for them by YouTube, where they will go out and negotiate prices on their behalf and take a percentage, thereby providing money to YouTube as well as these content creators, as well as vetting sponsors to make sure that things like established titles don't happen ever again, thereby not causing even more scandal to YouTube, but also providing services in merchandise. You could have had a YouTube shop where YouTube is essentially selling goods and merchandise based on content creators that they could then give money to the content creators for. And people would have bought it. Instead, Susan chose to fight content creators, to get into wanking matches and log measuring contests with them, on behalf of companies that ultimately her gamble didn't pay off with. So you can choose, essentially as the new CEO of YouTube, to continue her losing gambit, or to flip the script and actually bet on the content creators. That's your choice. Either be the literal definition of insanity, or flip the script and actually make YouTube profitable, which is what your investors are going to want, which is what the board's going to want. And that's your options. Is censorship going to be a problem? Perhaps. I would say that maybe cutting back a little bit on the censorship that Susan put together for advertisers. Yes, absolutely. Wherever is reasonable. But my hope with this new CEO is that hopefully this individual is smart enough to realize and look at the mistakes of their predecessor and fix things quickly. And to make the appropriate bet of not gambling on advertisers, but gambling on the content creators who actually work for this program and who have an actual stake in whether YouTube actually succeeds or not. Because that is true. A lot of these YouTubers whose entire living are based on YouTube, the reason they make so much noise, the reason that they're so loud and obnoxious is because YouTube is their means of income. It's how they support their families. They have an actual stake in what happens to their channels and what happens to this platform. So bagging the people who actually have a stake in your success as a company is important. That's the people you really need to pay attention to. Especially since these are the same people that are actually the reason why people are coming to the site in the first place. It does no good to have advertisers if no one's watching your platform. So this has been my thoughts on all this. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope that I didn't ramble too much because this has not been scripted or anything, but I'm going to go get me something to eat, and I'll see you guys next time. Stay safe, everybody.